So if in section 2, in Byrne's first criticism of Layman, he was basically saying that if we recognize that first principle, that we always have most reason to do what is morally required, that if we recognize that it is set aside in extreme circumstances, in rare extreme circumstances, that's no threat to morality in general. That's not really an argument that we need to believe in God and an afterlife. If it's so bad that it's so bad that to avoid that we have to admit that God exists. Then the second attack he has in section 3 is basically that in situations like Ms. Poor's situation, she's not really doing anything immoral at all by stealing. That is, that she's not actually setting aside morality. She's doing what is moral in saving herself. He gives examples of what he calls supererogatory behavior, and he cites himself. He says he knows that he would be doing more good if he were out helping people in poor countries than being a philosophy teacher in England, but that no one would condemn him for not quitting his job and doing those things. That is, it would be great if he would do it, but it's not immoral that he doesn't do it. He then gives the example of the Heinz dilemma, where we generally say that stealing is bad, but if you're stealing medicine to save someone because you can't get it any other way, we would not say that it was bad. That there are some situations in which conventional moral rules are put aside for the sake of higher moral considerations. We apply this to Ms. Poor's situation, then the idea that she can only preserve her well-being by stealing, but that the results of that stealing would be so mild that if she were to refrain from stealing due to her moral beliefs, that would be something that would be something to commend, but it's not something that can be required of her morally. He says, now my suggestion is that Ms. Poor's decision can also be represented in a maxim that will pass the same test, the Kantian test of universalizability, where stealing causes little harm to others, but is necessary to ensure one's own vital interests as a human being. Stealing is allowed, also stands a very good chance as a rule that could be openly recommended to others for acceptance in the same way. That is, it could be that Ms. Poor, if she decides to steal to save herself from such suffering, that she could actually universalize that rule without contradiction, and that it would actually not be an immoral act. It would not be not doing what is morally required. As he ends this section, he says, it might be seen as resting on the same core intuition. The force of the rule, do not steal, can be trumped, can be won over by considerations of human well-being if they are sufficient importance.